Hey friends, come on in, join today's live session. It's so great to see you. In this one, we're going to talk about USCIS during the Trump years and what we should expect start in 2025. Okay, at USCIS, I've been getting a lot of questions from you about what will happen at USCIS under a second Trump term. Well, in this session, I'm going to go through 16, guys, 16 changes that the Trump administration did during the first 4 years and what to expect going forward. I'm Latoya McBean Pompey, an immigration lawyer in New York, working with clients nationwide at McBean Law. Our contact information is scrolling below. Just reach out to us to speak with us about your immigration problem, and we'd be happy to see how we might be able to assist you. Also, guys, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, subscribe now and hit that notification bell so that you'll be the first to get notice of these videos each week. Hey there, Ian, Freedom Now. Type in Freedom Now. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey there, Lorna, thank you. Freedom Now, Freedom Now, Freedom Now. Now, let's get into it. We're expecting USCIS to have a pretty tumultuous 4 years under the Trump administration. We've been there before and we made it through, but you guys have to gear up and understand what they did in the past and where they left off and what they're likely to do going forward. So now let's go right into it. The first big thing that the Trump administration did during the first 4 years was something called continuous immigration vetting. What they did, guys, of course, they drilled down on immigration applications and petitions, running your information through various databases that, of course, we know about and some that we do not know about. But they had this process of intense scrutiny on the application process, and they wanted to make sure that from start until finish that they were tracking your information, confirming it all the way until the end. And so we expect that this increased focus on fraud, as I've been telling you about, that they're going to shift the agency back to a fraud detection lens and strategy. And so this increased vetting process, guys, is likely to come back. Number two, as we know, they created a denaturalization office. Denaturalization is nothing new for the government, but the Trump administration was very, very, very proactive in setting up this new office and trying to ramp it up a little. They did ramp it up a little, but the impact wasn't that significant. But now we know that they are planning on focusing on denaturalization, and I've talked about it on 2 occasions with you in 2 different videos. Go watch those videos on this channel if you have not learned about the grounds for denaturalization, and also my most recent video about whether an individual can lose their U.S. citizenship, including those of you who are born here in the U.S., some very common ways that it happens. But the denaturalization office is something that we expect more resources, financial resources, and staffing to increase. The third thing that they did during the first term, which really impacted a lot of people, is USCIS decrease the number of requests for evidence and the notices of intent to deny. They decreased issuing those. Why? So that they could increase denials. And so, for instance, the way that it worked in the past is that, well, the way that it works now, as you guys know, is if USCIS has a problem with your case, they send you a letter and they tell you they need more evidence, or they give you an opportunity to explain things. If they plan to deny your case, they send you a really nice letter explaining to you the reason why they're thinking about denying it, and then they give you an opportunity to explain some things. Under the Trump years, they decreased the amount of letters that they sent out to people that would allow you an opportunity to make your corrections, right? And to explain yourself. They just outright sent denial letters. So I'm expecting them to do that again. Number 4, They increased the issuance of notices to appear in immigration court. They started more actions against individuals to begin the removal process. USCIS, as you guys know, they have the discretion to, after they've denied a case, they have the discretion to just close your file, leave it alone, look the other way, because they have millions of applications to process. And so they don't care oftentimes to take further actions against an individual, such as issuing a notice to appear in court. That's why some people have a very bad immigration record, but nothing has happened. They're still here. They never went through the removal deportation process. It's because that field office made the decision, we're not going to touch it. We're not going to move forward with putting that person in removal. Under the first Trump term, they were issuing more notices to appear. And by the way, guys, if you're wondering where I'm getting this information from, my source is the Migration Policy Institute, a very reputable organization, and they did a terrific, very thorough write-up, data-driven write-up about the first 4 years of the Trump administration. So that's where this information is coming from. Okay, now number 5. What else happened during those first 4 years? Well, they limited your ability to submit your expedited requests to move your case along faster. They updated their policy manual to change the criteria for those who are eligible to submit an expedited request for them. They narrowed it. I expect them to do that as well, because under this upcoming administration, they're not looking to help anyone out, okay, on the immigration side. As a matter of fact, the policy is just to frustrate, to slow down, and to make sure that more people are denied. Now, friends, this information certainly is not to scare anyone. It's to empower you to know what really happened during those first 4 years, so that you can strategize with your immigration lawyer if you're going to work with one, and prepare a stellar case so that you have a strong chance of being approved over the next 4 years. Number 6, they frustrated the U visa and the T visa process. They limited, or they restricted, the Department of Labor in particular from certifying the U visa and T visa cases. I'm expecting them to do this again. Number 7, and this is about medical deferred action. They tried to suspend it, guys. They were not successful with this one. Congress got involved in this one, and consequently, USCIS was able to reopen the opportunity for those who have very serious medical conditions to be able to stay in the United States and ask the government for a year or 2 years. I don't remember how long they usually get under these medical deferred requests, but this is a humanitarian and compassionate discretionary option that some people have. And so under the Trump years, they tried to just end the entire program or opportunity. It did not work, but I do suspect that they will try again. Okay, particularly now that Congress, the upcoming Congress, is controlled by Republicans. Number 8, and this is about naturalization. Those of you who are applying for citizenship, they increase the vetting. When I use the word vetting here, I'm talking about like investigation, the reviews, they're looking closely, right, at an application. So for those who are seeking naturalization during the Trump years, they updated the U.S. citizenship application, which raised the requirement related to some evidence that they're collecting about details about your arrest history, your international travel history, requiring additional documents such as tax returns and children's birth certificates. That was part of the first 4 years. I suspect they will return to that. Number nine, fee waivers, guys. And during those 4 years, I touched on a lot of these as these changes were unfolding. And I remember talking also about these fee waivers. They were trying to change almost well change the ability, I should say, or limit the ability of some people from asking for a fee waiver, of an application fee waiver. And so they tried it, it didn't work. There was an injunction that was placed by a federal court, and so it blocked those changes. Anything dealing with like poverty guidelines or policy changes impacting people in a real economic way, you will see that the courts usually get involved in those types of matters. And in this case, it actually worked. Number 10, and this is one that lawyers hated badly, and it has to do with blank spaces or blank responses on your applications. I'm certain many of you have submitted an application to USCIS and you didn't fill out every space, right? You didn't fill out every space, and it's okay. They still went ahead and approved your case. They reviewed it. You got your green card, you got your citizenship. If they called you in for an interview, they asked you to just fill in the details at the interview. But during the Trump years, they were rejecting your forms. Why? Because you left out your birthday or you left out something on the application. And so that was a huge issue back then. I expect that this type of policy change most likely will come back again because they're trying to make things very, very difficult. But just note with that, the Trump administration, as I've noted here, wasn't entirely successful with that. They had to, due to some class action, there was a class action litigation that was filed to stop this practice, and USCIS agreed to halt the enforcement of this policy during the settlement negotiation, due to the settlement negotiation. Number 11. Now, guys, this is public charge, okay? Public charge was a huge thing under the Trump administration. They limited your ability to be eligible, really, for a green card based on creating these economic standards, okay? And I'll talk about this again when I do my next video or live session about the changes that happened at the State Department, because a lot of things happened there, and public charge was also part of it. But they were trying to weed you out if you did not reach a certain income threshold. It was a very comprehensive change, and there were there were court injunctions, and a lot of things were going on legally speaking to block what Trump was trying to do with public charge, and ultimately they were not very successful in getting very far. And as a matter of fact, the Biden administration ended up rolling back the Trump public charge policies. Number 12, and guys, this is one that's like, when I was reviewing this with my colleague, she couldn't believe this, but the government during the Trump years had reduced the number of green cards and work permits that they were producing. Why? They say, they said, well, the contract that we had with the vendor that was producing the green cards, the contract is up. USCIS ended the contract with the company that was printing the green cards and your EADs, and they did not follow up by hiring additional federal employees to keep this work going. And consequently, there was a backlog of 115,000 green cards and work permits by July 2020. And a class action lawsuit was filed, and there was a settlement in which USCIS agreed to start printing these work permits and green cards. So this was one of those tactics, guys, that was very easy for them to do. And so this is the shenanigans that happened before, and more shenanigans are expected again. Number 13, they increased the discretion of immigration officers. What does this mean? It means that The folks who are reviewing your applications and petitions at USCIS, they have some guidelines that they must follow. They have some statutes that they must follow and abide by while they're reviewing your requests for a green card or whatever it is, or your asylum application. They have to follow certain guidelines. But for certain types of applications, they could also use their discretion and make a decision to approve or not approve based on certain discretionary factors. Well, the Trump administration wanted these folks to use more of their discretion and in their decision making. Number 14, you guys probably remember this one. They proposed to increase your fees, your filing fees. They wanted to do an 83% increase for naturalization, and they also introduced new fees for asylum applications. So they weren't successful. As you guys know, the rule was blocked by federal courts in California, and they were not successful by the end of their administration. And as you know, just this past April, the Biden administration increased the fees across the board. But I don't think what Biden has done is as bad as what Trump proposed back then, but I don't quite remember the exact proposal. You can watch my very old videos on the proposed increase with the filing fees. Number 15, they were proposing a new naturalization exam. Okay, they wanted to make the test a little bit more difficult and longer. They may very well bring this back again. They may bring it back again, guys. So they were requiring, just specifically, they were requiring that applicants answer 12 out of 20 questions correctly. Whereas today it's 6 out of 10 questions. So they might bring this one back again. And then number 16, it's kind of like a catch-all, right? Number 16 says that overall, they slowed down on adjudicating your cases. They just slowed everything combined, all of these changes. There were so many changes and more that I didn't even discuss today. So many changes put together created a very slow process for folks here in the United States as well as those overseas. And so again, the vetting, procedures, and new policies slowed everything down. We're expecting that to happen again. Now, let's talk about what they left undone, right? What did they propose that they might go back to? What was pending? Social media, okay? You guys remember that they wanted to capture your social media information. And for those of you who went through the visa process, you already know that the visa application, I believe it does ask for social media information. But what the Trump administration was trying to do back then, they were trying to get into your Facebook. They were trying to see what you're doing online, although today they can see that. If you do not have your protections on your social media account, certainly they can see what I can see or anyone else can see if we were to go on your Facebook page. But what they were trying to do back then, they were trying to add a request for 5 years worth of social media details to 12 immigration forms, including naturalization, permanent residence, asylum, and refugee status applications. They wanted to collect your data and information 5 years worth, a look back. So that's on another level, right, of scrutiny and vetting. They weren't successful with that, but they might bring that one back. They were also trying to reform or change the appeal process, right? They had proposed a revision to the form for filing an appeal or motion, and that would limit the issues that they can consider on appeal. So if they denied your case, they wanted to limit the types of issues that you can bring back to them during an appeal process. They were not successful with that. Number 3, they had also proposed, guys, this is for those of you who are filing the I-601A waiver that would allow you to wait here in the United States until this waiver is approved before leaving to go to an embassy interview to finish your green card process. They were actually trying to pull back on that, okay, because this discretionary waiver, this provisional unlawful presence waiver, is kind of new. Okay, and they wanted to make some changes to that process. They most likely will bring that back. And then they wanted to expand. They weren't successful with this. They wanted to expand more biometric collection from you, like your eye scans, your palm prints, voice prints, DNA results. In some cases, they wanted to require all applicants, including U.S. citizens, to submit biometrics. Okay, and again, they weren't successful with that big one. And then they wanted to also, let me scroll to the description here. They wanted to let me read this one. Benefit granting agency reporting. Okay, so for those of you who had ever tapped into certain benefits, federal benefits, they wanted to require some of those agencies to report whenever a non-citizen requested any of those benefits and received benefit. They wanted to capture that data as well. Why? Because they wanted to use it against you during those years. It didn't work. And then let's see, I think this is, no, I have two more to go, I think. The next thing that they tried to do, they wanted to eliminate work authorizations to immigrants temporarily released from custody, from DHS custody. So those of you who have a final removal order, for example, final order of removal, and you're under ICE supervision and you're checking in with ICE, well, you know that you have the ability to get a work permit with that process. So they wanted to pull back on that opportunity, all right? Not unless the only reason you could not be deported is because your country, you couldn't prove that you were from a certain country, you didn't have the certain documents that were required that connects you to your country of birth, those kinds of things. They had some exceptions there. I suspect that they're going to want to limit the work permit opportunity again for people who have a final order of removal, but you're under ICE supervision. And then, guys, lastly, they wanted to make revisions to the citizenship application. They wanted to request more information from you, make it a little bit more burdensome. So these are, yeah, that's it. These are the major changes that were pending under the Trump administration, the first term, and what we expect them to bring back. As you can see, I expect them to bring back pretty much everything, even those that they lost, because why not, right? Why not try again? So you've got to gear up. You've got to gear up, and you've got to know what's ahead. Like I said, I will be covering more information so that you could empower yourself. Again, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll get notice of these videos, and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for more sessions. Contact us between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And one of our receptionists would be happy to book your consultation. Thanks so much for being with me. Again, subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you'll be the first to get notice of these videos each week. Reach out to us at McBean Law 914-898-9488 to book your appointment. Thanks so much for being with me in this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.